Hello guys, and welcome back to another video about Prussia. This is the fourth video in the series about Prussia. If you want to see the previous three videos, I'll have a link in the description for you to check them out. It's better to watch them beforehand because they provide context up into this point. This video is about the First Silesian War, and we'll leave off with the War of Austrian Succession. I have just done rulers and overall context before, but now I'll be diving into the wars of Frederick the Great and also the first partition of Poland by Frederick the Great. So let's get into this. The First and Second Silesian Wars can be seen as part of a bigger conflict in the War of Austrian Succession. The First Silesian War was in the first stage of the War of Austrian Succession. It was a spark that started the fire. Prussia's main objective in these two wars were to get the very important province of Silesia, hence the name Silesian Wars. Silesia was on the border with Austria and Prussia. Some reasons why this province holds such a deep geostrategic importance is that if you hold control of Silesia, you can emit influence from Russia and Poland-Lithuania. Silesia was on the border of Bohemia and Moravia, two very valuable Austrian provinces. It was also a greatly wealthy province and was very rich, which Prussia needed because it was one of the poorest countries in Europe. The casus belli used against Austria to start the First Silesian Wars has its roots all the way back in 1537 with the Hohenzollern dynasty, the dynasty that controls Prussia, and the PS dynasty, the dynasty that controls Silesia at the time of 1537. In the treaty, it saying if the PS dynasty would ever fall out of power in Silesia, then Hohenzollern dynasty would inherit control of Silesia. But when the PS dynasty fell out, lost power to the Habsburgs denied this treaty and simply annexed it. This is what Frederick the Great argued, that he should be in control of Silesia because of this treaty. There are no two ways about this. This move to invade Silesia is Frederick trying to take advantage of the weak in Austria. He would make such claims as later in his life when he would say his youth made him invade Austria so recklessly. The reason why Austria was such a weakened state is that the King of Austria and the Holy Roman Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, Charles VI, had just died in October 1740. The problem was that he had no male heirs, but in 1713 he issued a pragmatic sanction which allowed his eldest daughter, Maria Theresa, to take power after his death. This sanction caused a divide between the Austrian political parties. The eldest daughter was Maria Theresa, as previously mentioned, at the time of Charles' death, so she became Archduchess of Austria, Queen of Bohemia and Hungary. This was the reason why Austria was weaker during 1740 and the start of the First Silesian War. It was October 20th, 1740, when Charles VI died. Maria Theresa became queen at the age of 23 of the Austrian Empire. Then just 19 days later, Frederick II ordered to mobilize the entire Prussian army on November 8th. And on December the 11th, Frederick sent an ultimatum of war to Austria. The ultimatum said if Austria gave Prussia Silesia, then Frederick would back Maria Theresa's husband for Holy Roman Emperor. The HRE needed a new emperor, well, because Charles VI, the previous emperor, just died. And emperor was an elected position. One of the persons that could vote was Frederick II. So he would promise to vote for Maria Theresa and speak good on his behalf. He would also recognize the Pragmatic Sanction as law. This means that Austria would get much needed stability, but this was a horrible deal for Austria. They were given away a really good province for not much in return. Frederick didn't get a response, even though Maria Theresa declined it. He still did not receive anything, and on December 16th, invaded anyway with no declaration of war. December the 16th was in the middle of winter, obviously, and this was unheard of, invading countries during the middle of winter. It was a logistical nightmare, and it was much harder to fight. But this worked for Frederick. It got Austria off guard, but they had no troops on the border. Even though there's ultimatum sent out, they did not think they would actually attack. Then Frederick invaded pretty much all of Silesia by January with no resistance. And the rest that he did not invade by the end of January was under siege. The Austrian army finally arrived by February. It took 2 months for the Austrian army to arrive, 2.5. The general of the army was von Neipperg. Neipperg tried to attack Frederick when he was besieging a city, but Frederick smartly retreated to the northeast. He chased Frederick until April the 9th, where Neipperg encamped on a town called Mollwitz. The last known location of the Prussian army to Neipperg was to northeast, so logically faces his army northeast. But during the night, Frederick the Great moved his army to the south of Mollwitz. On the 10th, Frederick appeared to the south. This surprised Neipperg and caused a panic. Also flipped their line, so now their left flank is the right flank, the artillery was in front, and other things were very confusing. But shortly after this appearance of the Prussians, the Austrians sent a devastating cavalry charge, which during the charge, Frederick tried to reinforce the line, which failed, and then he was talked back by his administrator since things weren't going well that he should flee to avoid being captured. Little did he know, this would be a Prussian victory and he would definitely not have been captured. So after he left, the Prussians defeated the cavalry and then started to march closer to town Mollwitz. There was a large gap between the Prussians and the Austrians, so they could not shoot directly at each other. Only artillery could make it that far. Once the troops finally were within range of musket distance, the Austrians and Prussians began to fight. Before they started fighting with their guns, the Austrians had much higher casualty numbers, but when they started fighting, the Prussians overwhelmed them with their able to shoot much more bullets per minute than the Austrians. The Austrians could only shoot 2 bullets per minute, and the Prussians could shoot 4. That means double the men. The Austrians would need double men to get the same amount of bullets per minute as the Prussians. At the end of the battle, both sides had taken around 4,000 casualties, but the Austrians didn't want to keep fighting, so they retreated. This was Frederick the Great's first major victory, and he wasn't even at the battle. This battle had huge effects on the grand scale of the war. This showed Austrian weakness. Because of this battle, the House of Bourbon and Bavaria declared war on Austria. The House of Bourbon was a French family, and because of Louis XIV and other French rulers, primarily Louis XIV though, the House of Bourbon also controlled Spain and Naples. So France, Prussia, Naples, and Bavaria were all at war with Austria. This became known as the War of the Austrian Succession. This is the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe and check the next video. The next video will be finishing the First Silesian War and finishing the second. Hope to see you in that video. And remember, stay fresh.